What's up everybody, Mitch here. Thanks for checking out another one of my YouTube videos on the Fit for Moto YouTube channel. And if you're coming into the new Fit for Moto Academy, welcome. I'm happy to have you and I appreciate you checking this out. So today's video is something that's really important as it relates to rider positioning on the bike, rider safety, being smooth, being faster, a whole bunch of different things. And that's hip hinging. Now I know what you're thinking, I know how to hip hinge. I know how to get my hips so they're unlocked a little bit. But what I'm finding with a lot of the riders that I coach and stuff is they understand that they should do it, they understand some of the concepts, but they don't really understand how to do it. So I wanted to go over that today and explain it a little bit because it's really important, particularly as it relates to how you're controlling the bike in the air and then corners when you're standing. It's not so much when you're seated, this is more of a standing technique, but it is really important. So when you're talking about hip hinging, what I'm talking about is, and just real quick, I'm gonna go over kind of some of the basics with your feet, just as a quick refresher. Even though you might know it, it's just a good refresher. So remember, you want to be on the balls of your feet, right? You want to be on, oh God, I'm not flexible enough. The balls of your feet. You want to have, you want to avoid the arch of your foot, okay? You want to be on the balls of your feet. You want to have your toes pointed in, so that's making you squeeze the bike with your knees. You don't want your legs away from the bike. You want your knees pointed in. That's going to help control the bike. Now, moving up to your legs, this is what I'm talking about, hip hinging. Hip hinging means, so one of the things that I see a lot is you'll see riders do this in the air. They stand up straight, and when they get into the air, they do like this lock thing. Like they don't really, it's like as soon as they get airborne, they get super scared and they kind of just freeze in position. Now that position that they normally freeze in, that also happens to be the position that feels right for them on the takeoff of the jump. So they accelerate through the face of the jump, and then however they were going off the face of that jump, that's where they lock. So they end up just kind of locking into this position. What you want to avoid is doing that. You really want to have some dynamic sort of fluid hip movements anywhere on the track. If you're standing through a corner, if you're standing on a straightaway, or if you're standing through the air, all the movement and power will come from your hips. Your hips translate the movement into the rest of your body. So if your hips are off, then your back is going to be off, then your legs are going to be off, because you can't have a hip hinge and have straight legs, like you stick your butt out, and that feels really weird. That doesn't even look right, and I'm sure it would feel stupid if you were doing it on the track. So if your hips aren't right, everything else gets thrown off. Does that make sense? So on the balls of your feet, you want to have your hip hinge. So this is what I'm talking about. So if you see me on a straightaway, you'll see me in this position. You see how I have this angle between my thighs and my chest, and there's this angle here. Okay, that's what I'm talking about, hip hinging. That's going to vary a little bit as my body moves around on the bike, and it's somewhat dynamic as you're going over different terrain, whether that's cornering, straightaways, jumps, whatever. You still want to have the same principle though. Knees pointed into the bike, you want to have your hip hinge. So what I'm finding, like I said, is when riders go off, they kind of do one of these. Whereas if they've got their butt out a little bit and they've got their hip hinged down, that's going to put every other piece of you, like I talked about, your legs, your upper body, it puts it in the right position. So I want you to focus on your foot placement. Obviously, that's number one. Moving up, focusing on your hips. You want to have that angle in your hips. Like I said, this will change as you go through corners, right? You're going to stand up, and then you're going to kind of be shifted off the bike as the terrain changes, but the fundamentals, it all remains the same. You want to have that hip hinged, elbows up, hands pointed slightly in. This is good technique. It's going to set your body up for whatever obstacles that the track may throw at you. So go out and try that. Now again, this is something you're going to have to do a lot, just so that you have that kind of that brain data file in you, so you do it subconsciously when you're not thinking about it. And in order to do that, you're going to have to go out and do laps. You're going to have to go out and ride so that this gets programmed in, so that you're doing it without even thinking about it, which means you're going to have to spend some time on it while you're thinking about it. So what I recommend is, before you go out and do your motos, go out and do 3 to 5 laps where you're just focusing on hinging your hips, and you're focusing on your foot placement and being in that right position. And then afterwards, you go out do your moto and try and think about it while you're doing your moto. But again, I get it. It's going to take a little bit of time to get used to that. So I encourage you to go out, work on having that angle in your hips. You're going to find it helps you a lot. It makes you a lot smoother, uses way less energy. It's way safer, because the bike's not going to do these funny things on you that happen when you're all locked out and kind of riding in that weird position. So I hope that helps. I hope you liked the video. Smash subscribe for me. It's a beauty day. I'm going to get out and do my moto now, and we'll see you in the next one.